2.7 liters of pure power.
What's up, YouTubers? It's your old buddy Hardworker 12, and today I have a Toyota Tacoma SR5 with a 2.7 liter four-cylinder engine. Now, this particular brand of Tacoma doesn't really get talked about all that much. Most online video reviews and magazine reviews focus on the latest TRD Pro Trail Edition V6 6-speed manual, fully loaded truck that was already selling for $10,000 over MSRP before the car shortage that we are currently going through now. But what I'm going to do today is I'm going to talk about this more basic, humble version of the Tacoma. I'm going to start by talking about the engine, which nobody ever really seems to mention. Then we're going to look at the features that are on this particular truck, and then we'll take it for a test drive. As always, if some of that sounds interesting and some of it sounds boring, check the description for timestamps. But for now, let's get started on the engine. So the engine in this particular Tacoma SR5 is a 2.7 liter four-cylinder that Toyota makes specifically for their truck-based vehicles. And quite frankly, its output is laughable. This thing is apparently generating 158 horsepower and 180 pound-feet of torque. I'm not even going to bother to compare that to its contemporaries. A 2006 Subaru Baja, a car that went out of production 15 years ago, was pushing out 165 horsepower, 7 more than this, and 166 torque out of a 2.5 liter engine. And again, that was 15 years ago. Now, in reviews of the Tacoma, if you read it in magazines or read it online, if they mention the 2.7 liter engine at all they really say is to avoid it. I have a feeling the reason for this is that when auto manufacturers give magazines like Car and Driver or big websites cars to test, they always give them fully loaded models with the biggest engines because that's what automotive journalists typically like. So I don't think that Toyota wants them to really drive the 2.7 liter that only has 158 horsepower. So the question is it any good? If you're a truck buyer on a budget, should you consider this engine? My answer is yes, but with a couple of caveats. First of all, this engine does not have enough power for any kind of heavy-duty work. The towing capacity with the four-cylinder engine maxes out at 3,500 pounds. It's as high as 6,800 pounds for Tacomas with the V6. So if you're going to be hauling heavy loads or towing heavy loads, this engine doesn't have enough power. However, if you're a buyer on a budget and you're willing to accept not the most refined engine in the world, because quite frankly, it's not, and not the fastest truck in the world, but all you really need to do is light stuff, you know, maybe hauling around some gardening equipment or towing an aluminum fishing boat on the weekend so you can go fishing on the lake. Little things like this truck will do it just fine, but it is by no means a hot rod. It's relatively slow, the engine's grumbly. It's not very refined. It's a little bit disappointing, especially from an automaker like Toyota. I'm not the hugest fan of Toyotas, but the one thing that I'll say about them is typically their vehicles have a level of refinement that's above average. And as far as this Tacoma and this engine, I would say that's not the case. They definitely both show their age. But if you're on a budget and you need a pickup truck, I would say consider the 2.7 liter as long as you know it's not going to be hauling the heaviest loads, towing the heaviest loads, or quite frankly, going very fast. The one thing I will say is that it managed 25 miles per gallon on the fuel economy loop that I run, which isn't bad for a pickup truck like this, but that's under pretty ideal conditions, so that's basically what you can expect highway-wise under ideal conditions at a maximum speed of 65 miles per hour. Now let's have a look at the features in this car. Now with the features, we'll start by talking about the cargo bed, and this is where Toyota shows that they really are experts in building pickup trucks. The Tacomas come standard with these sort of composite bed liner built into the truck, so you don't need to pay extra for a bed liner once you buy it. You've also got plenty of cargo tie downs and a little rail system where you can put additional tie downs here. That's all very nice for hauling cargo in the bed of the truck, which is what I assume a lot of people do with these Tacomas. You also have the rear cargo light and the rear sliding window as standard. Now, as far as the interior features go, it should be noted that this particular Tacoma is a 2020 model, 2020 was the first year that Toyota made Apple CarPlay and Android Auto standard on the Toyota Tacoma. This is still the case for the newest 2022 models, but it should be noted that those are going to have a larger touchscreen than this particular truck has. Since this is the SR5, it also has the remote keyless entry, just the buttons on the key fob to lock and unlock the car. I guess those don't come standard on the base SR model. Something else that's impressive that is standard on all Tacomas, at least with automatic transmissions, is the Toyota Safety Sense system. Now, it's kind of the basic version of Safety Sense, which is Toyota's suite of sort of automated safety features for the car. You do have forward collision alert, you have emergency braking, you have lane departure warning, but this only operates at speeds above 32 miles an hour. And annoyingly, it gives you a little message in the center screen every time you drop below 32 miles an hour, telling you that it's only active above 32 miles an hour. You also have adaptive cruise control, but since this is the basic version of Safety Sense, the adaptive cruise control will operate only at speeds above 28 miles per hour, which is a big bummer in stop-and-go traffic. That's really where adaptive cruise control does its best work. If you want that particular feature, Toyota makes you pay additional for the option or upgrade to a higher model. But you do get automatic high beams, which is a very nice feature, even on a base model Tacoma. So those are the features on this Tacoma. Let's take it for a test drive. All right, so driving the 4-banger Taco. After living with this car for about 100 miles, I can kind of see why nobody ever talks about it. I think Toyota kind of produces this engine because they have to have a base model, but they don't really want you to buy it because it doesn't really feel like they care. I mean, this engine, it certainly doesn't care. It's grumbly, it's kind of loud, it's not real smooth. It's definitely not fast. They don't even offer it with a manual transmission, which is weird. This is one of the only cars I can think of where you can get the bigger engine with the stick shift, but not the smaller one. But here's the thing, like I said, it does do the job. And if you're on a budget, you can obviously get one of these for less than you can get a V6. And if you're not towing heavy loads or hauling heavy loads, or if you can find a good deal on one pre-owned, which is very difficult to do, because these things hold their value better than almost any other vehicle on the road, then the 4-cylinder is worth considering. I wouldn't say don't buy it, but you can just tell it doesn't care and they don't care. And the one thing that I can't stop thinking about when I'm driving this truck is how much better would this thing be, not even with the V6. I don't even care about the V6. If this had a decent, like, 2.5 liter, 2.7 liter, whatever, turbo diesel 4-cylinder, oh my God, this thing would be fantastic. That would be the best possible engine for one of these trucks because you'd have the torque for hauling and towing, you'd get better fuel efficiency, and modern turbo diesels are smoother than this. Oh, 2.7 liters of pure power. God, I've got to get over here. Wow. Yeah, this is not fast I mean, I wouldn't expect it to be fast, but it's like foot welded to the floor, barely making it onto Southern California traffic freeways. Now here we are in the slow lane. This is something that I noticed when I was driving it around last night, is if I straighten it out here, I'm on a little bit of a curve. There's Angel Stadium. it gets this weird kind of shimmy in the steering wheel. Now, this particular vehicle is actually an Enterprise rent-a-car, rent-a-truck, whatever. My primary daily driver's in the body shop because a bear tried to kill itself. Suicide by Subaru. It's the Honda Center. So this is a rental from Enterprise, and it's got, how many miles this thing got? It's got 33,900 miles. And look at that shimmy on the steering wheel right there. I'm just going straight ahead at about 64 miles per hour. And I don't know why it's doing that. I don't know if it's out of alignment. I don't know if that's just something that these things do. And you could say, well, it's a rental truck. It's had a hard life. Yeah, okay, but first of all, it's a Toyota Tacoma. These things are supposed to be completely indestructible. And I'm pretty sure, based on the dudes that buy these things, a lot of these things lead very hard lives, whether or not they're rental cars or privately owned. So I don't understand why I'm getting that shimmy, because I have a 2011 Ford Crown Victoria Police Interceptor with 164,000 miles on it that was a cop car, so it's probably led a hard life, and I don't get that kind of shimmy out of it at 65 miles an hour. So I don't know, if you have one of these, put a comment below. Does yours do that, or is this thing just out of alignment or something? But other than that, the ride's all right on the freeway. I mean, just at kind of regular freeway speeds, nothing to complain about. Again, this engine is yeah, this engine's uninspiring, and uninspired are the words that come to mind. So I guess that's why nobody ever reviews it, because Toyota probably does everything they can to keep basic model Tacomas out of the hands of people like Car and Driver and, you know, the fast lane car, or whoever, you know, Doug DeMuro. They're not going to give Doug DeMuro one of these things. Not that he would review it anyway. But I think it's kind of annoying for people whenever they look at reviews. There's a TRD Sport right there. This fool probably paid $8 grand over sticker. Got kiboshed. I try my best to try to review things that people actually buy, and the funny thing is, I'm not actually sure if this is what people actually buy as far as these Tacomas go, because at least where I am in Southern California, most of the ones that I see are kind of the upper level packages, you know, the TRDs and that sort of thing. But if you're looking for a review of just a regular Tacoma 4-cylinder SR5, there's certainly not very many of them out there, so I'm trying to provide that service. The transmission in this thing is almost as bad as the engine, to be honest. Sometimes it shifts smoothly, but sometimes, like when your throttle application is varied, it's very clunky. And again, that's not, you know, Toyotas, for the issues that I have with Toyotas, they're kind of boring, they don't handle that well. I'm not a huge fan of Toyota, but the one thing that I can say about Toyotas when I drive them, you know, if it's a Camry, a Corolla, a RAV4, whatever, there's a certain level of refinement. Oh, there's my lane departure warning. There's a certain level of refinement that Toyota seems to get right in all of their vehicles that's just missing with this one. And I don't know if it's because it's a pickup truck, so they figure it doesn't matter, or if these things sell so well that they just feel like, hey, people buy them unrefined, let's just keep making them that way because it's cheaper to build them like that. Oh, give it the beans. This is, okay, this is foot welded to the floor, and there is not a whole lot happening. Like, it'll do it, but just barely. But if you loaded 1,200 pounds of car, look at that shimmy in that wheel. If you loaded 1,200 pounds of cargo in the back of this thing, or if you were hauling 3,000 pounds, which on paper it could do, it would just be glacial, you know? Like, yeah, it would do it. I believe that it would do it, but just be forewarned. But like I said, not everybody needs the biggest, fanciest, wildest thing, you know? Maybe you just have a little jet ski you're trying to tow up to the river just to have fun on the weekends, or, you know, hey, working a job site, you're not hauling the big stuff, but occasionally you got to go over to Home Depot or Meeks or Lowe's to get some supplies. You know, this would do the job. And you don't have to bury yourself in a TRD Pro just to look cool. You know, if you really want a Tacoma, hey, this one's fine, you know. Put some different wheels and off-road tires on it, and who's going to know the difference, really? I will say the handling on the truck, as far as through a curve, is pretty good as far as a pickup truck goes. I have no complaints there. And one thing that really did surprise me, the turning circle, the turning radius, is better than I would have expected. You know, it's bigger than a standard sedan would be, obviously, because it has a longer wheelbase, but it's a lot better than some older pickups that I've driven. So as far as actual drivability goes, yeah, you could use this as a daily driver. It's maneuverable enough. You know, you could drive it in the city, you could drive it on the highway. It performs well. Thank you so much for watching my review. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did enjoy it, please give me a like and a subscribe. And if you didn't like it, please leave me a hateful comment in the section below. Thank you very much and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.